Now, my own relationship with the Supra has always been a little bit love-hate because 2026 Toyota GR Supra Final Edition. We are powered by the one and only God's engine, the B58. That's a 3-liter inline-6 that has a single twin-scroll turbocharger, making 382 horsepower, 358 pound-feet of torque. Made it to either an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission or, as the owner has optioned here, a 6-speed manual. Good choice. Now, the final edition does include some key upgrades. We have larger front rotors, retuned adaptive dampers and retuned steering, and a retuned LSD, stronger rubber bushings, upgraded front anti-roll bar, revised alignment, underbody bracing, unique 19-inch wheels and decals, carbon fiber ducktail spoiler, elevated front tire spats, and flaps right here on the front wheel arches. We're weighing in right around 3,400 pounds. We have electric power steering, strut front, and multi-link rear suspension. And with this being the final edition, it's a limited run, 1,300 units only for North America. I think a lot of us were thinking, is this a worthy swan song? It's been a very popular car for good reason, but is this the final, best, ultimate version of the car, and is it worth the price premium? And the starting MSRP is $69,000. Nice. That is $8,000 more than the premium trim. Ow, just hit my head on this, because this is not tall person friendly. And the interior in these A90s is more Camaro-like than anything else in terms of the high sills, not a lot of visibility, but familiar interior. We got some nice carbon fiber, good seating position. You can really get the telescoping wheel right where you want it to be, sitting decently low, and sitting quite far back in the car as well. 7,000 RPM redline. The soft limiter, not as exciting as that hard limiter on the LC500 I'm currently driving right now. I'm gonna put this into sport mode, and we're gonna have gear shift assistant off. Now, the auto rev match does work pretty well, but if you're anything like me, you enjoy rev matching your own downshifts. Man, these things are so capable. This car is bone stock, straight from factory. Little under rev there on the heel toe. Sometimes with these turbocharged engines, you have to be a little bit more aggressive when you're trying to rev match. And it's a very smooth inline 6, as BMW inline 6s tend to be. Steering here, it initially feels a little bit darty, actually. It's a very fast ratio, and you quickly adjust to it. But when you first get in, you're gonna find that you're oversteering the car in terms of putting in too much input, because this car wants very, very little input. Not oversteer in the sense of like actually oversteering and getting the tail out, although you can do that as well in this GR Supra. You can watch our other videos for some of that action. These high-speed sweepers are not gonna be as conducive to that kind of hooniganism. There we go. A little bit more aggressive with that throttle blip. Now the steering, pretty fast ratio, decently sharp, especially for a stock vehicle. Those bushings likely helping with a little bit more immediacy to the front end, a little bit more communication to the chassis as well. But overall, because this is a BMW under the skin, tuned by Toyota, it's a bit on the numb side still. And I was hoping for a bit more communication, a bit more feel for this final edition. Yeah, you can really feel the weight transfer here. It is more communicative than most modern BMWs, but by the standards of many great cars that came before it in the 2010s and such, including cars like the GT86 FRS, things like that, it's a much more insulated experience. Nice firm brake pedal feel. And when you get into it, you have that high resolution that you want to really control the behavior of the car entering a corner, mid-corner as well. Now, my own relationship with the Supra has always been a little bit love-hate because I love the performance of this thing. I think it punches well above its weight class. Toyota, of course, benchmarked this against the Porsche Cayman, and the performance here is greater than the equivalent priced Cayman, for sure. The B58 engine has just gobs of torque, and for a daily driver, you don't even have to rev it out to get that get up and go. And you know that BMW is underrating these engines as well. This makes more than 382. And at its weight, that's a healthy power to weight ratio. No question about it. But the reason why it's been somewhat of a love-hate with the Supra is I want a little bit more feel and communication. And I think that the Supra, even if you go to the Mark IV, right, it wasn't as razor edge as a lot of us would like to believe. It was a little bit more on that GT side. And I guess this rings true with that lineage, right? To be more soft around the edges, very comfortable, a car where you can really enjoy it daily driving. And when I say soft around the edges, I mean the way that it feels to drive, because this car will bite if you don't know what you're doing. This car, I mean, it has a very short wheelbase, even shorter than the GR86. And it's willing to rotate and be playful, but there's a lot of like insulation, and the suspension here is well damped. They've retuned the dampers, and they feel great for driving on the streets, given the weight of the car, right? So it's still maybe a little bit softer than what you may want from a car where you're really gonna be bombing the canyon roads or definitely taking a track. But I think they've struck a good balance point for what this car actually is, which is a comfortable sports car that has a little bit of that GT flair and GT flavoring, I should say. And without driving both this and a regular premium Supra back to back, I gotta say, these feel far more similar than different. This final edition still feels soft. It still has that very dramatic weight transfer. It's not very confidence inspiring and not quite as immediate as I would want. And what do I know? Maybe the target demographic really does want something that is more comfortable and closer to the regular premium, but from my perspective, with the thought of final edition, I was expecting something a bit sharper, sportier, a little bit more enthusiast focused. But for what I want out of a sports car, I want a little bit more feel and communication. And by the way, the manual transmission, people like to poo-poo on BMW manuals all the time. This one has definitely been worked on by Toyota because it doesn't feel quite as rubbery as a standard BMW manual transmission, and it has this nice degree of slickness. It feels high quality. It feels expensive when you use it. It's actually a joy to use. There's that hint of rubberiness, but it's not full-on BMW rubber, if you know what I mean. Now, whenever you get special editions, they're always going to increase the price quite a bit more. They're going to give you a few little goodies, you know, the brakes and the retuned dampers and LSD and things like that. And they're going to make a limited number of them. So the question then becomes, are you better off getting a premium or a limited edition? And I'd have to actually drive this back to back with a premium to tell you more concretely how differently they drive, because there are some notable performance mods here. And of course the cosmetic stuff too, that's more of a personal thing. But just in terms of driving experience, how much better is this versus the standard premium? I'd love to tell you guys in a future video. Now, based on this first impression, the two feel far more similar than different, and I don't feel like they did enough to actually differentiate the final edition. Those differences, they're very subtle. And for the additional cash, you're looking at a $70,000 to $75,000 Supra, you're not getting that big of a shift in terms of actual performance and driving improvements. Major price difference, but minor improvements and changes to the actual driving dynamics. I think it would have been awesome to see the car a little bit more enthusiast focused, maybe retuned e-pass with greater feedback, a stiffer, more aggressive suspension that also improves some of that chassis communication, maybe a slight power bump, and even a more aggressive exhaust. It doesn't need any crazy aero or crazy colors. It's still a street car at the end of the day, but just putting it a few more steps in that enthusiast direction I think would have been well appreciated. But hey, what do I know? It's still a Supra, it's still a great car, but with that additional money, I wonder if I would personally just buy a premium Supra and use that extra cash for some mods of my own. But don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those car enthusiasts that thinks older is always better and new cars are terrible or whatever else these cynical people are saying. I think there's just an evolution of cars and there's different flavors, and with newer cars, yes, they tend to be heavier, they tend to be a little bit more numb. And I actually really like what Toyota has done with the GR Supra. It's just not what I'm exactly looking for, because I want a car that is very sports car or very daily driver, and not really something that's in the middle. But if you do want one car that can do it all, and you're okay with having, you know, compromised rear storage and no back seats and such, then the Supra makes a convincing argument. Very high performance ceiling. I think it looks pretty good. Obviously not anywhere near as good as that FT1 concept we were all drooling over. But let me know, what do you think? The final edition or the GR Supra Premium? Let me know with a comment down below. Big thanks to the owner, Mark, for letting me review his car. If you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in that next one.